Here's 4 videos that I put together that I think technology could be good, but at the same time it could definitely allow the New World Order to enslave us. Take a look and see what you think.
How un-American could the government get if it ever forced this upon us?
Finally from us this evening, technology on the cutting edge. We were interested today to hear that more than 100 law enforcement officials in Mexico are having microchips implanted in their arms. The chips allow a person to be scanned, sort of like a cereal box at the supermarket checkout. In Mexico, this will be one more tool in the fight against crime. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
You've seen it before, right out of Hollywood.
It's maybe a little uncomfortable.
A microchip inside the body. A hidden, high-tech identification tag.
They're the access codes to your job spot.
Now, Mexico's Attorney General and 160 of his deputies have had microchips implanted in their arms to control access to the country's new Criminal Investigation Center. It is to provide access, said the Attorney General, to the right people in exclusive areas where there is valuable, sensitive information. The microchip, the size of a grain of rice, is injected under the skin and gives off a low-frequency radio wave. A scanner reads each chip's identification number to verify an official's security clearance.
The microchip is tamper-proof, it's secure, no one can take your microchip and use it to their advantage to gain access to your facility.
The chip, developed by Applied Digital Solutions, is similar to those used in the U.S. to identify and return runaway dogs. In humans, it can have several uses.
Little stick.
The chips can also be programmed to carry medical information. The one in this patient details his blood type, allergies, and the fact he has Alzheimer's disease. The device is now awaiting approval from the Food and Drug Administration. Some researchers are developing microchips for use in the home, so that wearing one can turn on lights and open doors. Hands-free. The next step, say researchers, is developing an implantable chip with a global positioning system to track people miles away, whether kidnapped or lost, just as cars can now be traced. A kind of LoJack for the body. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
That is our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good evening. Good night.
Where are your papers? Is a command that strikes at the core of freedom of movement and the right to privacy in a free society.
The troops who carry tracking devices are assigned to, what the equipment looks like, or where it's placed on the body. Just about every U.S. military vehicle in Iraq has GPS or another type of electronic tracking device so their commanders can monitor them. It's called Blue Force tracking. Some law enforcement units back home have experimented with chips that give physical data about officers but don't have tracking signals. U.S. military officials say soldiers and Marines in most regular combat units in Iraq, like the Missing Soldiers Division, are not outfitted with tracking devices. One reason? The danger involved if a soldier carrying one gets captured.
That provides certain options for the adversary. If he knows that this is a tracker and somebody's going to come back and get this tracker because they think it's associated with a human being, they have the ability to set up an ambush for whatever unit's going to come back and try and find this unit.
One option, placing a tracking microchip under a service member's skin. Former U.S. Special Operations officers tell us they believe that's being developed. Current military officials won't comment on that, Wolf.
Yeah, what about the cost, Brian? Is that at all a consideration?
It's a big consideration. Just about every former officer I spoke with says the cost of outfitting each combat troop with a tracking device is one of the main reasons they don't have them right now.
So when you speak with the various special operations types and others, and I know you've been doing a lot of reporting on this, the pros and cons of having these kinds of tracking devices, what do they say, Brian?
Some believe that every service member should have them. Some don't because of the risks we talk about. But others say if they can deal with the cost and pay for all of this, it is worth it not only to track missing troops, but to be able to tell friendlies from enemies on the battlefield.
Brian Todd reporting for us. Such devices, by the way, are not just tools for war. They're also tools that could keep all of us and all of our families safe. We saw that back in February when 3 mountain climbers and their dog were stranded overnight on Oregon's Mount Hood. Rescuers found them all safe by tracking their mountain locator unit, a device similar to the one seen here. Also, many models of cell phones use GPS tracking software that could locate you in case of an emergency. There are also several products available to keep track of children. Many of them act as emergency cell phones and tracking devices, with some even able to display on a map the places your child has visited. Still ahead tonight.
Where are your papers is a command that strikes at the core of freedom of movement and the right to privacy in a free society.
The trouble with tracking sex offenders has put a controversial plan before state lawmakers. Instead of GPS bracelets, convicts would be forced to have a device implanted. Come 4's Luke Ducey looked into whether the new devices will work. Luke?
Mary, the thinking is this. You can track someone on their phone. You can even track your own pet if you want to. So why not track sex offenders using a tiny radio chip?
For my boy.
Shannon Oakley was panicked.
Mom's here, like, oh, kids aren't going outside tonight.
This past April, in her Linwood neighborhood, David Torrance, a level 3 sex offender, ripped his criminal tracking device from his ankle and disappeared. Authorities had no idea where he was. But soon that might change. Instead of ankle bracelets like the one Torrance was wearing, sex offenders might have something like this implanted.
Be a little more difficult to take off.
Representative Marilyn Chase and a handful of state legislators are looking into radio chips that go under the skin. They will replace ankle bracelets. Some designs are no larger than a grain of rice. Police could then track an offender from a remote computer using the same technology used at the Narrows Bridge toll. But unlike a bracelet, a chip is virtually impossible to remove because it's surgically inserted.
Right now, we get a postcard at home every few weeks saying you got a sex offender moving into the neighborhood. But, you know, unless you know where they live and what they look like, how are you going to have protection?
If passed, House Bill 1142 would allow the state to hire the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs to see whether chip implants would work better. However, the Department of Corrections admits even with their current devices, ankle bracelets, well, they often lose the signal. They also say no tracking device prevents crime.
It certainly is not prevention. It certainly is not 100%.
And while there is, of course, an ethical debate over using these chips aren't new. They've been used to track criminals in the UK, even get this, school children in Japan. The bill here in our state is in committee. Live in the Satellite Center, Luke Ducey, Come 4 News, Dan back.
Where are your papers is a command that strikes at the core of freedom of movement and the right to privacy in a free society.
Now they love it. They can abuse and beat up everybody and nobody can stop them. Nobody can stop them. They're having their way with America. They want our guns. And if you're not with them, cops and military, then you will declare that you're with the Republic now. And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this, and I should only go get upset about my favorite football team winning or losing. Listen, I know what tyranny means. I know the bankers are putting poison in our food and water. I know the bankers have stolen $8.5 trillion. I know we're under War Powers Act. I know they're hurting us. I know they're carrying out New World Order. I know they staged those terror attacks. You know what it's like to gut up to this and go out every day and go past the peer pressure and come out day one and say 9/11 was an inside job and lose most of the radio stations I was on. You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day. You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life. You know what it's like, you sons of bitches. I'm tired of your crap. You commit evil, you're part of an evil system, and we're standing up against you. And the Republic is going to defeat you in the end. Some of us won't make it personally through this, but a lot of us are. And in the end, you are going to be brought to justice for all the kids you kidnapped for CPS, all you CPS workers, all you corrupt bureaucrats, all of you that have had your way with innocent children over and over again, who think your evil's invincible. You're not invincible, and God is going to deal with you. And you are cursed to hell.
Well, there you have it. Some Christians may consider this the mark of the beast. You know, I'm a Christian, and I definitely think this could be a possibility.